The Flogcast may occasionally contain explicit content that makes it not safe for work or for minors. It also doesn't provide an excuse to use the same words on Bay 13. Normal Big Footy rules still apply.
Alright, so this is the Flogcast for... Fuck.
It's been so long, you don't
It's
know.
been so... Round 20. Round 20.
It's been 80 years.
It's that old lady from the Titanic.
Bay 13's resident baker Starburns is here, and I'm joined by... fucking hell, I can't remember what our things are.
I'm a suburban netballer.
The suburban netballer from Collingwood, Morgan Ashley.
Hello.
And
Dan got a new one today. Robin Williams.
I'm the Robin Williams of Bay 13, Dan.
Why don't you explain that to everyone why I have this new nickname?
Because you keep threatening to throw the toaster in the bath.
Can you please not do that, Dan? Because I would, if you do die, I would rather inherit your toaster.
You're going to inherit the blame. That's what you inherit. Because apparently the podcast is making me sad in accordance to Starburns' belief of who I am as an individual. So if you're listening and I do end up kicking the bucket, point the finger at Starburns. It'll be his fault. Because this is his podcast and he's the reason why we haven't been here for 3 weeks.
Bay 13 reasons why.
I don't want to be on one of the early tapes because they're nothing. I want to be like tape 11.
As a Richmond supporter, I'm clearly tape 9. We've started very, very dark, and I thought we had the cobwebs out in the pre-chat, but it didn't take long to realise that there's still some cleaning to do.
Can you seriously explain to everyone why we haven't been here for 3 weeks?
Yeah, because Dan didn't bother to turn up the first week.
No.
But you asked, can I please explain?
You thought you were being funny by saying that to begin with, but you've
That's
got to be
the truth.
genuine and give
That's the fucking
full
truth.
honesty. It's not me. Just because I said I couldn't come on a Monday, but I could on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, isn't the reason why we haven't been on for 3 weeks. That's crap.
No, there was the week Dan said he couldn't come on, so then no one else put their hand up, so I guess there was no... So just the episode didn't happen.
Okay, alright, I'll be fair. I'll give you 1 week.
Week two, I was sick and you wouldn't do the edit because that's apparently not your job.
That's not what I do.
Brendan Goddard.
That's Cookman's. He's plan B.
So Dan...
But what about the first week when Dan was just lying that he wasn't going to turn up?
Yeah, Mr. White text. Yeah, that's right.
Well, you could still go through it. I mean, just because I don't participate doesn't mean everybody else can't. I'm not accountable for what you guys do.
You're not accountable for anything. Yeah, and the third week last week, I couldn't do the Tuesday, and you wouldn't do the Monday. You couldn't do the Monday, so it just didn't happen.
That's so pathetic. You can't put this on me. This is not my fault.
Why don't we all just take a little bit of responsibility, like 33% each?
Let's
to be fair, Morgs, you're not really on the hook for any responsibility here. It's mostly Dan.
No, but I'm happy to take some because I was at work and it was a bit hard. So you know what? I will pick up some of that responsibility.
And I will pick up the responsibility for the week I was sick and last Tuesday where I couldn't be on. Now, Dan, will you take your share?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, you are not. You are the Brendan Goddard. You are not a team player.
You're the person that records and edits the podcast. How am I responsible for the last 3 weeks?
You're the spiritual leader of the podcast, Dan.
I'm supposedly the spiritual sad guy.
I'm the Patrick Cripps carrying you at the moment, Dan. You show up for your 1 hour.
You're Charlie Curnow.
You show up for your 1 hour a week, and I have to do the shit that I actually have to do the shit the next day to make sure the recording goes on. And speaking of the recording, it's time to move on from that. So the band is back together after a brief hiatus, and whether this is the farewell tour or not, we'll find out as the season goes on.
Next week?
What?
there be a podcast next week? I think the
I
two
think
or three people...
we're going to take it 1 week at a time.
Clarity.
Pretty cliche, so taking it 1 week at a time, Dan.
So, goo or tears, we have a month's worth. So, Dan, you should have something for this segment.
I bet he doesn't.
He was too busy thinking of how he's going to throw the blame around, or deflect the blame. He doesn't know goo or tears.
Well, I do, but it's got nothing to do with football.
That's
Okay.
alright.
But never, it often doesn't.
I was at a shopping centre today, and no, I didn't sell any cigarettes to kids or anything like that. But my car was parked in one of them
Pram spots?
pram spots, baby sort of spots, and I knew I was parking there because I couldn't be bothered looking for anything else. But I ended up getting a
ticket.
A message. No, not a ticket. No. I got one of them intercom things from inside the shopping centre. Someone complained. So
Someone you got dobbed on.
Realised
Someone
I got
squealed.
dobbed on. Someone looked in my car and realised that I didn't have like a baby seat in the back of in the back. They've taken down my rego number and they've gone to the concierge, the shopping centre, and over the intercom, can the owner of blah 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 please move their car? And I'm thinking, I haven't parked in a disabled spot or at the entrance or something. And,
You should have just wandered into the office, the shopping centre office with trade draft. I've got a baby.
Yeah, some 40-year-old.
God, Dave, show him your nappy.
Like
And how you
for a
spit the
split
dummy.
moment, I actually shit myself. I thought, what have I done something wrong here? And then I go to my car and I realise I've just parked in this spot. I mean, I know I shouldn't have. But
Okay,
really
no, you know what? You say you shouldn't have, but I'm gonna just be. We are all of a similar age here. Now, these pram spots are a bugbear of mine because we were all raised in an era where there was no such thing, and your parents just got on with it.
Yep.
And that was what it is. Like, when did this become a thing? Disabled spots, sure. Like, someone in a wheelchair needs to be closer to the escalators or the lift or whatever. But
someone who's sad.
no, not that. Jesus Christ. Yeah, maybe you should get one of those stickers, Dan.
Can you get a disability pension if you claim to be sad?
Don't think so.
Probably not a car sticker. No, I wouldn't have thought so.
No.
No, because you could do with the long walk to the shops.
Or maybe I want you closer to the escalator so you don't jump in front of a car.
There you
As
go.
someone who at one stage had a pram and a baby seat in her car, I understand the need to have pram parking spots that are a bit wider because it's often difficult in smaller spots
Pay that.
to maneuver. It doesn't need to be near the front though.
No.
It certainly doesn't need to be near the front, but bigger spots for pram parking, I'm cool with.
Just all the
No,
extra parking. The extra parking spots shit me because there's also one of the shopping centres I go to. There's the express parking if you're in and out in 90 minutes. Like, I don't think I've ever been to I've very rarely been to the shops and been longer than 90 minutes. But I'm a male, so that's probably part of it.
Isn't it that someone has gone out of their way to actually look at my car and realise that there's not a baby seat in the back, and they've gone out of their way to complain?
Probably someone who wanted that spot.
And is it worth going out of your way to complain about it? I mean, you're not going to get that spot.
Well, I'm gonna
You're still
piss
going to
you.
find a park.
I'm gonna
I'd
piss you
prefer
off
to
too.
leave a passive-aggressive note on your car.
Yeah.
I've had that before.
Yeah.
They're shit
Very
too.
so nice of you to.
I left one on Monday night, last Monday night,
What did you
on
say?
someone's car. They parked in two spots.
Oh,
Now that's
that.
warranted.
Nah,
When
that's
you do that,
just.
you warrant a letter. or a fine.
And if you keyed their car, you'd be the bad guy.
It was in a it was in a busy area too. Like it was on, I think it's Lennox Street, just off Swan Street. I went to pick up a pizza before work, and there was one car, and it was parked over 2 spots. And I just, as I was like, I finally found a park in a permit spot, and I was only going to be 5 minutes, whatever, take the risk. And as I was trying to get a park, I thought I'll go here, and then I realised this dickhead was in 2 spots, so I couldn't park in either.
So you were parked in the permit zone for a very brief period and stopped to write a note.
Yeah. As I was still sitting in the car, before I even got out, I thought, no, I'm leaving that cunt a note because that's shit. And so I got my little notebook, I ripped a page out, got my bingo texter from when I took my mum to bingo, and I just wrote, nice parking, dickhead, and I put it on his car.
Wait, is that one of them big fat ones that you you hold in your...
Yeah, big thick one.
Yes.
So in big thick purple writing it said, nice parking, dickhead.
Those ones you just go...
Yeah.
You stamp with.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Did you want to segue from that into your Guru Your Tears?
Now after I gave Dan shit, I don't even know if I've got Guru Tears.
Oh, go on.
Oh, don't be like Dan or Penal.
What do you mean, be like Dan? I'm here when my team wins or loses.
No, you have a habit of not showing up after losses. Hang on, how many games did North lose over that period where it was debatable about...
Oh, I'm still here. I don't care that we lost.
You just don't want to talk about football.
I can't really cry about injuries.
This is fair weather Richmond supporter that won't even go to his team's games at Etihad Stadium.
I went to the home game, Dan. Oh, fuck. Where's the bell, Morgs?
Don't call me bloody fair weather.
Jesus Christ.
What the hell was
Shut
that?
up, Dan. The bell. The autism bell.
Morgs, so, yeah, anything not football,
Get rid of the bell.
Oh,
basketball,
get rid of you.
random stuff. Like,
NFL's coming back soon?
yeah, it's inside 50 days. Hard Knock starts this week.
LSU Miami opening the college football. Yeah. No, it's not in Sydney.
Yeah.
I'm not going to that again. That was rubbish. Like, it was cool, but when you've gone to an actual NFL game, it was rubbish. I don't even know. Oh, tears for fucking Gold Coast Suns. The Gold Coast Suns couldn't even beat Carlton, and they were my pick in a knockout competition for $220, and they fucking lost.
Oh, that's fuck. Yeah, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah. Like if it was like $30-something, you wouldn't worry about it. But at $200, that's worried.
And all they had to do was beat Carlton at home.
It's not just that, because it's one of those competitions where you got to pick everyone once. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone once.
Yeah, and so the chance of them winning another game.
No, so I had to strategically use them somewhere where I thought they'd get a win, and this was it. And like I'd planned every move, and this was their one, and they fucked me. Bastards.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Oh, I've also got tears on the Fox Footy ads when they're doing like the hashtag dribble kick or whatever.
Mm.
Every person that tries to make a hashtag with their hands is retarded.
Sean Higgins, fucking hell.
Sean Higgins is the worst one. I cannot deal with his backwards hashtag.
You do realise that this isn't some initiative by the players. That some producers are...
No way.
But his hands are the wrong way. Like, there'd be a right way to do a hashtag, and then there'd be a backwards way, and his is backwards.
The ad itself is just stupid, but...
Well, yeah, it's cringy.
The ad and the show it's advertising are stupid.
The players have got to do some form of advertising for Fox Footy.
Has anybody watched that new show, Pointless?
What?
No.
Oh, it's not on Fox Footy. It's just a new quiz show. I think it was on 11. It's called Pointless, and it's kind of like Family Feud, except you're trying to get the correct answer, but the lowest points. Like of the survey, we surveyed 100 people. You're supposed to get the lowest one.
But you have to get one that someone said, but it's got to be the lowest one. Is that how it works?
No, it's got to be a correct answer. So it has to be an answer to the question, but you either want it to be pointless or as low as possible. And I watched it today, and it was a really cool show. And the guys won, and they won the jackpot. The jackpot was $4,000. I was like, this is the tightest show I've ever seen.
Is the host better than Gold Logie winner Grant Denyer?
No, the host is really weird. But then, like, the guy that helps him out or asks the questions isn't the host. Like, one of the guys that gives the answers, he's Doctor. He's a doctor. He's not Dr. Chris Brown, but he's another known
Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Feelgood. I don't know who he is, but whatever. I like the show. I like the premise of it. But you probably need to up the stakes. Mark Humphries. Oh, Dr. Andrew Rochford.
Oh, that guy.
I don't know why he's on a game show, but okay.
Yes, he's gone backwards from being, a doctor.
An actual doctor.
I'm going to have Goo. I'm going to have Tour de France Goo. It was good viewing this year, and Chris Froome didn't win. So I'm very pleased with that. I'll be short and sharp on that.
Yeah. It was cool. I don't know if I like the name Geraint.
Geraint. Very weird English or Welsh name. The Welsh getting up, so there's one for you, Black Flag. Yeah, that's all I've got on that.
I was talking to Northern Lights about how once the Tour de France started in Ireland, and he cracked the shit because it wasn't in France. Like, it goes through other places that aren't in France.
It is. It is a bit weird when it starts on the Isles, though. Like, I get Belgium and Spain and Italy because, they're actually, you can't go up the Pyrenees without crossing into Spain at times, or the Alps without crossing into Switzerland, but yes. Going off to the Isles is a little bit... It's like Australia being in Eurovision, sort of.
Stupid European contests. They just start places they shouldn't, include countries they shouldn't.
Anyway, let's go to the recaps, and we will begin with... Well, Melbourne got a win. There's a lot's happened since we've been on, so Melbourne sort of looked like they're going to Melbourne it on us, and maybe they're just keeping it alive for the ultimate Melbourning against GWS. Like, they haven't dropped out yet, but they're just hovering. Do we have anything on them rolling the Crows? Putting them into...
Oh, they were very close to not rolling them. I reckon if Eddie had to kick that goal instead of hitting the post, that
would have been. It was on, and if it hadn't fucking rained, they were saved by the rain. Because Adelaide were all over them, and it wasn't just the wet conditions, but the wet conditions stopped Adelaide making the most of their dominance that they were establishing at that point. Look, we've said it before, you're shit till you're not, and at the moment, they're still very...
Shit.
Yeah, they're still shit.
Very shit.
And I'm not convinced. They look like they can do it in the season, but they still don't seem to have the mental fortitude to do it when it matters, and I don't think this really did anything for them for that. It was a get out of jail more than it was a stirring victory. One thing I want to touch on is the news that I picked up on the weekend during Jordan Lewis's milestone game. Did you see that he named one of his sons Huey?
Huey?
Huey Lewis.
Well,
how do you feel about that news, Dan?
I mean, is there a specific reason why you're asking me?
You seem to be the only one who's not hip to the joke.
No, you've lost me.
A bit of a square, Dan.
I've been accused of many things on this podcast.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit interesting.
Yeah. Cute kids, but
One of them had a comb over like him.
I had a real worry that when he had both of them and he was running, like he was going to run through the banner, I thought, oh, I get concerned when there's one, but when you're holding two, chances of dropping them increase exponentially.
You're not Chris Dawes.
I really want to see somebody drop one of these.
What is wrong with you?
Not like baby, but
I want someone to drop their kid, to drop their kid, to drop their kid.
Just like a small.
You
child.
drop the mark just like you drop your kid. Your kid.
Imagine the opportunities. Like, imagine if Jack Darling dropped his kid.
Oh, you marked that one, but you couldn't mark the kid. I mean, come on.
He'd only drop his kid in a grand final. Let's be honest.
That's so cold.
That's sadistic. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Oh, shut up, Dad. Fucking hell. Act like your mother Teresa.
Teresa.
Apparently she was a bit of a cunt, but we won't go into that.
Well, if the shoe fits.
Nobody believes Dan's nice though. Crows are done, I think, and so looks like another long pre-season bus ride awaits them.
Well,
Jeez, imagine how much they're going to get tortured.
Maybe they'll play the Melbourne theme song this year. After Melbourne effectively ended their season, maybe that's what they'll play. Let's go to the grand final preview, as we were hearing all week. Richmond rolling Collingwood. What we got out of that?
It was a good game.
It was befitting of the stage.
Yeah, I didn't walk away feeling disappointed.
Because you were brave?
No, it went as I expected. I didn't expect to win. I think we showed more than last time. I think we're getting closer. It was all right. I didn't want to get blown out of the water. I didn't want to be smashed in the end.
Like last time.
Yeah.
The scoreboard was probably reflective, but not in the way it got there, I think. I think we got to that lead a little bit earlier than we might have deserved to, if that makes sense.
At 3/4 time, I thought we were in a good place. Yeah.
Thanks, James.
That's okay. But, yeah. Down 2 rotations did hurt.
Oh, no. Can't have excuses.
It's not an excuse. We're still beaten by a better team.
Say it just, like, yeah.
I know.
Ah, fucking... But...
No,
like,
you can't actually say that injuries impacted you, because then that's an excuse, not a reason. Apparently,
who said that?
Well, apparently, we're just a bunch of sooks. Everyone has injuries. I get that, but when you have injuries in game, it affects your rotations, your ability to.
Would you have won
run out of
if you
game.
had a full bench?
No, I don't think we would have won.
But they would have given it more of a shake.
We would have been closer.
Look, they
absolutely. We wouldn't have allowed them to kick as many goals in the last quarter if we had the 2 backmen that weren't.
I think you would have won. I think you would have won.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sold on Richmond. I mean, they've got 2 good players.
Idiots.
They can't win on the road. I mean, Carlton has more wins on the road than Richmond does.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to fix that.
Coming?
We'll get a chance to fix that later.
No, I think it was a great stage. It was an absolutely beautiful day on Saturday. It was the best day we've had in so long. It was quite mild. It was lovely. What? No, that was beautiful Saturday at the G. Like, it was sunny and warm.
Open football, highlights around. I thought your captain really stood up throughout the first half, Morgs. He was very, very damaging.
Yeah, he was great.
Except on the scoreboard.
That was more side bottom. It wasn't really hurting us with lots of disposals. That was a good game. I'm trying to think if there was anything particularly amusing out of it. The tears over Higgins' goal has me very amused, and it was quite funny to see our friend Ilksy get a little bit.
He doesn't melt often, but when he does, he
that
really
main board thread. Not his finest moment, but
he went for it. Both barrels.
Where was your captain, Starburns? He's just got this habit of missing.
He was solid. We only had
on the way out. On the way out, Mum goes, "Why didn't Cochin play today?"
He was solid. He wasn't crap. He wasn't good. But we honestly didn't have
solid 17 disposal game you've ever seen.
What? 17 disposals is solid. 20 plus is good.
It would be by Richmond supporters.
Less than 15 is concerning, and less than 10 is very bad.
Belief due to what Jacob said to him in the finals a few years ago. It's like, if he gets above 10 or 15, we can breathe easy now. Trent contributed.
No,
it's all right.
15's above it's a pass mark. It's above 50%.
15 disposals is a pass mark for a midfielder. Have you got rocks in your head?
We didn't. Our highest possession winner got like 23.
Oh, God.
That's 15 disposals is what you would get from like someone who plays on the back line. Yeah. This guy
but Chris Main didn't do anything with it.
Where the ball is there to be won.
Our highest disposal winner got 23. I don't
care what other people did. This is your contested midfielder, your best midfielder. What's he doing?
Jesus, if our ruckman got 23 touches.
Yeah, and we didn't waste the ball. We had
17 against St Kilda. He had 18 against the Giants. What's he doing?
Just playing his role.
Where's Trent?
I know you think I joke about Trent a lot, but the guy goes missing.
He doesn't go missing. That's not missing. Missing would be a lot worse than that. He still had impact.
No Brownlow medalist should be getting fucking 15 touches.
1, 2, 3, 4.
No Brownlow medalist should be getting 15 touches.
There's 7 games this season in which he's had 17 or less disposals.
He had a few bad ones in the middle of the season, but we don't play a big disposal brand of football. Dusty only got about 18, and that was his best game in a while. Like, he's racked up 30 this year and been worse than that. It's about quality over quantity, Dan.
I'm not talking about your other midfielders. I'm talking about Trent.
So why does he get held to a different standard by you, Dan?
Because, 1, he's your team captain, and 2, he's your best midfielder. And he's this, like, messiah figure that Richmond supporters have been telling us that he's this superstar, and he barely does anything.
Barely does anything. He clearly did 17 things, Dan.
But that's not enough if you're spending.
That's not enough. Fucking hell.
That's a pass mark for you, is it?
That's basically average, just a pass mark. Yeah.
He should be getting dropped.
Oh, he should be getting dropped. Dan,
Chris Main got 15 touches.
Yeah, but Chris Main was fucking useless. Like, and he got a lot of those. He got a lot of those towards the end. I did notice him get a couple of junk time runs. I went, oh, here's Main keeping his spot.
He's keeping his spot. He's playing Scharenberg's role next week, according to the Collingwood board.
Gee, oh wow!
That is how far we are past the bottom of the barrel.
Injuries, I think we can let them be an excuse now. Anyway, anything more on that game?
No, I'm absolutely heartbroken for Matt Scharenberg. Genuinely heartbroken.
He can take inspiration from Paul Ahern.
He was the glue.
He can take inspiration from Paul Ahern, who's been through 2 knee recos.
Yeah. he can be inspired by Paula Hearn, which is really touching. But I'm shattered for him. At that season launch I went to last year, he sat next to me. He was so lovely, such a quiet, unassuming, modest guy, just a nice kid, and I think it's a bit cruel.
You almost felt bad stealing his wallet.
Yeah, I felt really bad spiking his drink.
He was the glue. He was the glue that was holding your defence.
Okay.
No, he was. He's been really good this year. Lyndon done shit, but he's good.
No. I wish him the speediest of recoveries.
Before we move on from that game, and I don't want to get bogged down.
Any chance you could speak up?
I
was going to say something.
Let's not go there again. Before we move on from that game, and I don't want to... Dan, shut up.
So, I mean, I don't know what I'm mentioning now.
Thank you.
See, that doesn't even sound like a bell. It just sounds like dial-up internet. Can you stop ringing
No, that sounds like a bell. Don't see. You have to ring the bell over his comments on the bell.
See, you're the more retarded one when you keep ringing that bell than I am. I'm just being me.
No. Yeah, what do you think that is?
Bell. That's you, Starburns. Little man with a bell. That's you. I don't even have a bell.
You're an idiot.
Starburns, you're just a little man with a bell.
Oh, he probably thought this is a good idea. I'll just add this little prop to the podcast and make Dan look like a wanker every time.
It's not my prop. It was my idea, but Morgs is the one ringing it.
Oh, it's your bell. Well, it sounds better if you're ringing it.
Oh.
Thanks, friend.
Before we move on, and I want to get bogged down in the shit fight on this, but so quick assessment: Jack Higgins, goal or not?
Goal.
I don't understand how this is even a discussion point. It's clearly a goal. How a player drops the ball on their boot is their discretion, surely.
Yes, absolutely. That
is the biggest non-debate ever. That's a goal.
That you can't kick a goal over your head directly backwards without throwing it upwards. You won't get the angle. Like any kick like that has ever been done has been thrown up a little bit, as long as the boot comes through.
I'm fine with it being a goal, but don't call it a drop. He didn't drop it because it went up. He threw it up. That's fine. It's still a goal, but don't call it a drop.
The weirdest but best explanation I heard of it was from Gary Lyon in the commentary straight afterwards, calling it an elevated ball drop, which doesn't actually make sense, but at the same time is the best explanation I can think of. Well,
no, gravity is what makes it drop. He doesn't drop it. He throws it up, and gravity does the dropping.
It's true,
and I've got no issue with it being a goal.
No,
I thought it was great.
Pau Pepper kicked one in China this year where he lay on his back and threw it up. It was just very audacious to go down the post with it.
Jaden Stevenson might have kicked one over his head like that.
Is there some sort of law that dictates how high you can throw the ball up into the air and let it drop into your foot? Like, Ben Brown has this stupid 50-metre walk-up every time he kicks a goal. What if he decided to throw it 20 metres in the air
Thanks, Ilksy.
and let it land on his foot? Can he do that, hypothetically?
Well, if he marked it, technically, but he'd miss. Why would he mess with his excellent routine? I'm
just asking if you can throw the ball as high as you can in the air and let it drop on your foot.
Okay, yes, and I understand, but this is the point I'd like to make to everyone who thinks you can throw it up, it'll be okay. Higgins throws that up, but he is in possession, so if Moore was any closer, he should by rights have been able to, if he could get there, tackle Higgins over the line and get hold of the ball. We agreed on that?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like that's if you throw it up, that's the same as the ball drop. You're still in possession, and if you get dispossessed, you've lost your prior.
If you haven't marked it, and
I think
ball and no one's around you. If you throw it up in the air and you kick it, surely that's okay.
If you throw it up in the air and you don't kick it, then
that's a throw.
Or throwing, yeah.
That's dropping the ball because you don't make contact with your foot. That's fine.
It's risk reward. He was rewarded because he executed.
Yep. Nil issue.
Yeah, it honestly seems really simple to me, but the amount of debate over it is honestly
there is
bizarre.
no debate. He legally kicked the football. I mean,
Everyone's just losing their shit because he did it around the post. That's all. We talked about Ben Brown and Paul Ahern in that section, so we will go to North beating West Coast down in Tassie and keeping the finals hopes
Can
alive.
you please refer to him as the inspirational Paul Ahern?
The inspirational Ahern, sorry.
Thank you.
The best comment I've seen about Paul Ahern was on the main board, and it made me laugh so hard. It's just like, how did Silvania let this one go? It's a fair call when he's going after GWS. Not quite rejects, but certainly guys who GWS are looking. No,
we can call them rejects.
Well, Ahern's not a reject, really. He was just they didn't have
the ones at Carlton are.
I know. Why is he not going after someone like Ahern? Imagine Ahern and Cripps in that midfield. They would be so much better.
It's good to watch Ahern.
A good, solid pickup for North, and it's...
I think he's probably better than solid, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm basing it off the fact he's played a handful of games, and he's got to string it together a bit longer.
If he was good and solid, he'd only get 15 touches.
True.
Idiots.
Oh God, I could go on. But
No,
I'm giving up. I've given up. Dude,
he almost got that many clearances.
But he's done well in his 8 games, and North's midfield, between him and Higgins and Cunningham, looks in better shape than it probably appeared at the start. And now they might, with Brown up forward, they might play finals, depending.
Wait will be back this week.
Potential.
Potential.
Oh no, he's no longer the mailman. Potential.
He's back to potential.
He's back to potential. No, he fluctuates, man.
The game itself, they should have won. I mean, they didn't have Chewy or Kennedy in the team.
What do we have out of that game?
Oh, we already discussed it. Come on. I said we should have won, and we did. They were missing players, and
is that all you've got to say about a stirring win that keeps your finals chance alive? That's all you've got to say.
What do you want me to say? I mean, we've already discussed about it.
Yeah, I was right calling you the Robin Williams.
Huh?
Sad clown. Can't even get excited over a big win.
It's not a big win. We beat a team that we should have beat, and we did. And
well, they lost Nick Nat against Collingwood, and they won that game. Like, they can win without players.
Am I supposed to show more enthusiasm for this triumph over West Coast?
I think you can be a bit more impressed.
Yeah, I think you could be a little bit, like...
They were missing Natanui, Shuey, and Kennedy.
So what? You won.
They're still...
three best players.
Yeah, and you beat them.
You've got to put things in perspective.
You were missing potential.
You can't just be like, "Oh, we're the shit. Look at us."
No, no one's saying that, but you could just say it was a solid win.
Like if LeGrew was on here, he'd be troughing at the mouth, going, "Yeah, look at us."
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't.
What does Northern Lights think of the victory?
Northern Lights, what do you think of the victory? Yeah, what do you think of the victory? Yeah. It was pretty good, and he's a hard taskmaster.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't ask Northern Lights. He'll be about as positive about it as Dan will be. But no,
it was pretty good. He said.
Yeah, pretty good. Fucking hell, Dan, you're just sad clown.
All victories are pretty good. What one's not good? I feel like a fucking interpreter.
So you don't want to say any more about it, Dan? There was nothing else about it that you thought, geez, that was...
Is there anything else I can say? Well,
I don't know.
I don't know, but why are you unhappy that your team who was outside the 8 beat
I'm
the
not
second top team?
I am happy they won, but I'm not ecstatic or as enthusiastic as you guys want me to be. I mean, we beat a team we were supposed to beat. I mean, that's...
I
don't think you were supposed to beat them.
And you're not.
You weren't supposed to beat them. Even with their injuries, they're still a tough team.
No, they're not. No, you take those 3 guys out. And, Brisbane could have won that game.
Brisbane aren't that bad. You need to say Carlton or Gold Coast. Now.
So, was it a good win or a great win or just a solid win, Dan?
It's just a solid win. Nothing wrong with saying it was just a solid win.
Speaking of Brisbane, Geelong beat them comfortably in the end, but apparently they were with them for a decent chunk of the game.
Not that you would have seen any of it, but...
No, not that I would have seen any of it.
I didn't watch.
Fat Boy's been hungry in recent weeks. He's really chowing down on the goals.
Oh, fucking swallowing them whole, big fuck.
Hungry Hawkins is yeah, like do they still have the KFC deal down there, whatever the fuck it was, if Hawkins kicks goals, or
Dunno. They'll be going
tuck in like Tomahawk?
Running out of money soon. 7 goals kicked this week.
7
last 1.
14 in 2 weeks at the cheap ground.
It's good to see Menzel obviously being inspired by Paul Ahern.
Ahern wasn't even drafted when Menzel did his knees, but he was inspired by him.
Yeah. I heard he's got like the piece of tape written around his wrist that just says Ahern on it.
What would Ahern do?
WWAD.
Did we actually explain the context around that?
I don't know.
So,
Yeah, this Robbo, you've given it so much legs. I mean, it's not that fun.
but it's pretty funny. Robbo's like,
Funny.
Schoenberg's going in for his 3rd knee reconstruction. He should take inspiration from Paul Ahern, who's had 2. To put that into context, Dan, that is like us saying that when you come onto this podcast, you should take inspiration from Matrox.
From LeGrill, who has also been on a podcast.
Yeah, from someone who's been doing a lot less podcasts than you.
Well, even when he did come on, he didn't say a fucking word.
You should take inspiration from Jose, who has also been on a podcast.
Oh,
Do you understand the joke now, Dan?
No, I understand it. I just don't get how it's so funny. I mean, to a degree, he could take inspiration from her, and even though he's only had the 2 knee reconstructions, I mean, he has proven that if you work hard and you're diligent in your rehab, you can get back to playing football.
Sad clown.
Well, I'm only sad because of you, asshole, and I'll be writing that letter. Make no mistake.
Well, I don't even know what letter we're talking about now.
No, you know exactly what letter I'm talking about.
Oh, right, yeah, well, good thing I don't have a soul. Or a conscience, I mean. I'm not a redhead. Like
because
yourself.
you're an atheist.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move. Let's
non-believing.
Let's move on from that game if we don't have anything else on it. Geelong at the cheap ground. I don't think we expect anything else. Good to see Harris Andrews back. Even if he got smashed, and probably would have been happier if he didn't play.
Who could he take inspiration from?
Kobe Stevens. No. Jeremy Howe's had 1 concussion. Or does it need to be someone with no concussions?
Scott Pendlebury, who once had a headache.
Trent Cotchin missed the game with a migraine. He can take inspiration. He had a migraine. Concussions is the same thing. Let's go to Essendon beat the Kohlers. Look, the Kohlers have hit the skids. Something shocking. I think the whole one-man team thing is really ringing true with Buddy hobbled, and he's not even, and he's out there. He's just injured.
Yeah, I'm happy for Sydney to keep losing. Cheats never prosper. They can get fucked.
They are in a massive fucking hole at the moment. Can't see how they get out of it. Yeah, no, there's no sympathy. There is no sympathy there. All the experts are right. If they concede all these inside 50s and play deep and try and counter, but the basic thing is if you can score 80 or 90 points against them, you're home. And the Gold Coast did it. If the Gold Coast can beat you, then yeah, you're a rabble. It's funny though, the buddy deal's probably going to result in no flags in the end.
Wowie.
And a loss of Collingwood.
Tell everyone else that
Sorry?
it's been a major success for them.
Breaking news. According to Footy Classifieds, today Collingwood spent 1 hour with Tom Lynch at his parents' property in Blairgowrie. Now, why would we need to do that if he was coming to Richmond?
I'm still fairly confident.
Surely there's no need to fucking waste our time now.
He's probably still thinking it through. I'm still confident.
Just very interesting, oh boy.
Oh, can we just mention
Continue
the fact...
talking about your rubbish.
Do you really want Lynch to come to Collingwood, Morgan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who wouldn't want Lynch if they could afford him without tearing their list apart?
If we're going to lose more anyway, then absolutely go and get him.
Yeah, that's fair. No,
Where's Moore going, North?
I think Moore's going to Sydney.
Oh.
Go to Sydney. He's not coming to North. Why would he come? Why would anyone come to North? No,
I don't know. McGovern said no. Rory said no. Good thing. Pollock said no. Good thing Gaff's still out of contract, Dan.
Would you want him after what he showed this week? It's like he was already playing for North.
Has Pollock already re-signed with Port, or is he going elsewhere?
No, he said he'd rather go back to Brisbane.
Did he?
No.
Dan, I wouldn't worry about that one. That's one you're happy to be rejected by.
I'm open to the Pollock one just for.
Wait, so Gaff's no good, but Pollock's okay.
I never said Gaff was no good. I'm just saying he's overrated because he's just a stat merchant who plays on the wing.
No, sorry, I asked.
Well, don't be sorry. Just accept facts.
just know better.
Just know better.
Just on the Buckley thing, how I want to deviate a little bit towards Lynch here. The whole fuss over Buckley last week actually suggesting that, or confirming, that Collingwood had spoken to Lynch. Like...
this baffled me. I don't get it. Why are we criticising people for telling the truth when that's all we're asking from them?
Yes, it's like... Yeah.
Like, you finally get somebody who's not going to bullshit you and you crack it.
It's literally... The media will write the story anyway, and this is in the they push for an answer, and then when they get an answer, they write a story that they got an answer and that they shouldn't have. The deck is stacked against everyone at Clubland and players with this sort of shit.
You are not doing your due diligence if you don't talk to a guy who is going to become a free agent that has that could change your club like he could, that could help your club like he could. If you're not talking to him, you're not doing your due diligence.
And we all laugh at North for getting rejected by all these players, but the fact of the matter is at least they're trying to, because what the fuck is St Kilda doing?
Exactly right. What is St Kilda doing? They're fucking...
Maybe they're talking to him, maybe they're not. Maybe they're talking to him, maybe they're not, but we have no fucking idea who they're talking to. So, anyway, let's move on to the Suns losing to Carlton.
That's disgusting.
Shame.
Oh, God.
Little man with his little bell.
Just, it's amazing that, like, not to say the Swans are that good, but it's amazing that the Suns can pull that sort of win out one week and then go to their home ground and dish up this shit against a team as bad as Carlton are. It's just like, have they progressed? Probably not. And then Stephen May, how stupid is that cunt? He's so lucky he only got the 1 week.
He won't be there next year.
Well, you're not getting both of them, Morgs.
I'd take May.
Yeah, I'd take May. Well, I don't honestly think we're going to get Lynch. I never have thought we're going to get Lynch. But I don't see why this late in the piece he'd be spending an hour at his home meeting us. It doesn't... If he's not coming to us or he's not even entertaining it, why would he be doing that?
Don't know. Maybe he is going to Collingwood.
Maybe he is. All I know is what I heard that dickhead Purple say.
Just on purple, actually. Can we go back to him and Luke Beveridge and Tom Boyd, which happened during our little hiatus? Fair dinkum.
Why? What happened?
Oh, Beveridge's sliding doors. It isn't really sliding doors, Colin.
Not beverages. Barrett's.
Who did I say?
Oh, you
Beverage.
said beverages.
Barrett's sliding doors, which I think literally every fan of football hates. He basically said that the Dogs were lying about Tom Boyd's absence through a back injury and suggested it was potentially depression. It was a bit of a cheapie. Beveridge called him out, and I wish more clubs would do it over his bullshit.
But certainly no love lost there between those two.
No.
Hates him.
Well, there's a few clubs that supposedly won't speak to him. Like, he's a North supporter. Apparently North won't speak to him, which amuses me greatly. But
how do you feel about him being a North supporter, Dan?
Well, he doesn't annoy me like some shitheads on.
oh, jeez. I would take every single one of your supporters, bar perhaps Sue's.
Well, let's talk Richmond supporters. Would you take every Richmond poster over Barrett?
No.
I would sooner Barrett than Andrew Bolt, but that's about it.
So as the boys get to tick,
He's harmless.
you would take all the Richmond posters over Barrett.
Barrett's a monumental cockhead, but can we not digress into this?
You have so many monumental cockheads on your Richmond supporter base.
Yeah, well, I don't know who most of them are, so...
Masher, Dangerfield, Groupie,
Dangerfield?
Richo at the disco.
Oh.
Richo with the dick show.
There's so many of them.
Games that don't matter, Dogs lost to the Power, anything. It's pretty dark in Ballarat.
This was in the rap, wasn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. Has any team ever turned up to a game with a microwave on the bench?
Richmond supporters have turned up to games with microwaves in preparation, but, no.
I thought that was hilarious.
But Paddy Ryder must have some really old creaky joints.
Like, imagine being the one guy that needs a microwave to warm up the heat packs.
Old arthritic Paddy.
Oh, Paddy Ryder, he ain't what he used to be.
Yeah, the microwave, Paddy goes to put the heat bag in there and it turns out Charlie Dixon's chucked some fucking popcorn in there or some shit. Well, who else is a bit of a fat bastard at Port?
Sam Powell Pepper. he was on the bench with a beanie on.
I saw that.
Are you allowed to play with a beanie?
He took it off.
I don't think he ran onto the ground with it on.
Why not?
And Bruce Dool got to wear a headband.
Yeah, if you can wear a headgear, then why not? You could wear a beanie.
Yeah, well, Angus Brayshaw could have worn one of the Freeze MNT beanies over his fucking helmet.
And then you take it off and throw it away. Yeah, no, the microwave is pretty funny. Is that more like an OH&S thing? Like, microwaves give off, like, fucking shit. You're not meant to stand in front of it. Isn't that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't stand in front of the microwave. It's just sitting at, like, waist level, waist
But what was
height.
it plugged into? Where was it plugged into? Was there just, like, a random cord hanging off the bench? That's an OH.
An extension cord going,
But just
snaking
an
all the way back to the
extension
rooms.
cord going through the seats up to the coach's box.
It wouldn't be country footy without some fucking real...
And then Ken cracks his shits and he's like, fuck it, I'm unplugging the microwave. Get a touch, Paddy, or I'm unplugging the microwave.
No heat bags for you.
I want 5 contested possessions from you, or you're not getting a heat pack.
I wonder what became of it, because I don't think they would have bought it with them, and I don't think they would have taken it back.
No. So
It's a single-use microwave.
surely they could have just given it to someone on the way out. They're like, so, need a new microwave?
Seriously.
Yeah, just get Paddy to sign it and auction. Or he could just give it to someone in the crowd like they do with the little footies or something. Do you want a microwave? Here you go. Give it to a little kid that can barely carry it. Mum, Dad, I got a microwave from Paddy Ryder.
Did you ever see... you ever watch Old School? The movie from about... Yeah, it's like with the... Whatever it is. Look, it's got 3 speeds. Re-gifting the fucking, I don't know, it was like a juicer or some shit. Giants St Kilda. No. Giants are building nicely towards finals, might sneak top four and do some serious damage from there. Giants.
I think there's a big sound from the west of the town, friends.
They've navigated the Cameronless weeks fairly well, which was supposedly going to end their season.
Ends them.
And Hawks are treading water. Big win over Freo. Don't need to talk about that. Let's go to talking points. I don't have many talking points. We'll begin, though, with the AFL rules trial thing from last week, which has sort of petered out since, but we will just briefly go over it. And we know what Dan thinks about rules and all that, but the whole suggestion that these rules could be trialled in a game in season was quite bizarre. What are our thoughts on that particular?
I think it's odd, but we trial things in games all the time. I don't see how it compromises anything.
I didn't think so either until someone mentioned that it won't happen now that North have won, but if North was, say, dead in the last round, if Ben Brown managed to use that to wrap up the Coleman, but I think he's quite clear, or if Cripps used it to wrap up the Brownlow.
No, we're not your fucking guinea pig. We're not doing shit.
It wouldn't have... You would have been...
Wouldn't have been you.
You would have been one game. Carlton would have featured in like 3. And Gold Coast would have featured in a couple too.
Okay.
But I don't hate it the same way everyone else does, but it wasn't until someone pointed those factors out that I went, oh yeah, that could actually compromise it. But ladder positions don't mean shit with some of those games. Like Gold Coast Brisbane has no impact on anything above it on the ladder.
I think if everything's in place, there's nothing that can be changed. Trial away. Whatever.
Why can't something as dramatic as this have been trialled during the pre-seasons?
Well, because they didn't have any ideas for this. It was a very big emergency that's not actually an emergency.
So they've only just thought of this new thing just now, just recently, and they want to introduce it into the fixture.
Yes, because
that's amateurish.
The AFL are getting pressured for declining ratings because they were stupid enough to schedule a whole bunch of Carlton games on Friday nights, basically.
Then that's a fixturing issue, not
I know
the rules of the game and the way it looks issue.
Dan, we know this.
just put them on. Have Carlton play on Mondays.
It was good to see the last 2 weeks, ever since the AFL really started pushing this thing hard. The standard of play's been fantastic, almost making it.
Yeah, it's made them look stupid as. Like I don't know if it's just luck, but my team plays bloody good football. Like, exciting to watch football. So I don't see it as an issue.
I don't either. My team scores plenty of points. When we play a decent side or good side like Collingwood, we beat them. They still score 77. When we play a side that's not that good, they only score 40 odd. But that's not our fault. You know, it's the standard. The standard's pretty good, and at the moment, the way we're playing, fortunately. With the style we play, a lot of teams seem to think they need to kick goals to beat us. So that's helping. But the game evolves, swings and roundabouts, etc., etc. You can't be fucking Carlton not kicking 100 points, which they won again, they still didn't.
So that makes a whole year of they've not kicked 100 points.
Yep, or Sydney who can't score over 80. You can't do that anymore. Or Freo, you can't, you got to kick scores. That's the way the game's evolving. If they would just let it, yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying the standard of play, particularly over the last. There was a few weeks there where it was a bit average, but height of winter that happened.
Why are you open to these rule changes then?
What do you mean?
No, we're open to trials.
We're open to any sort of trials happening in a dud game. Like if there was a legitimately good rule. If there was a good rule, like something that was sort of, say the one they are talking about is the extended goal square, because the zone thing's just been absolutely demolished after the St Kilda trial. But if, say, the goal square one got a run, or perhaps prior opportunity changing, you could theoretically try those in one of these other games.
No. It's just not. I can't think of another mainstream sport that does this shit, where they just want to make up new shit on the run and
So it's happened
Change
before.
up
Don't you remember the
yeah.
post-it notes with the interchange rule?
Yeah,
That happened mid-season.
yeah, and name another mainstream sport that just does.
You have to be like everyone
gonna
all the time.
change
Everyone else all the
It's
time.
going to change everything during the actual season for points.
Doesn't hurt anyone.
Trial it in the pre-season. We're not going to trial it in the state competitions.
They actually are going to.
We're going to just make changes now that we thought are a good idea for like the last 5 minutes. I mean, who are these people that are making these decisions? They don't know shit.
I disagree with the rules and the motivations, but I don't actually disagree with the potential execution.
Maybe we should just trial it in the grand final. Why not?
Because that game matters. We're talking about the games that don't matter.
Oh, so the games in which that are played for points don't matter.
Yes, would you
the
care?
ones we don't talk about.
Would you care, Dan, if these rules appeared in a Fremantle game?
Yes, I would.
You would not.
You would not. You wouldn't even know it happened.
Well, if it means Fremantle kicks more points than what they do, then yes, it does.
Well, then you'd care if they scored more.
Listen, God, don't use Fremantle as a fucking wedge to get to validate your point. It's crap. We can't have these shitty little rules that people have just thought up with 5 minutes ago and thought this is a great idea. We're going to introduce it right in the actual fixture. No, don't do that. That's just.
I just don't think it's that big a fuck up for a game that doesn't matter. That doesn't affect anything that anyone does. It's like it's a dead rubber game. Like the Q Clash at the moment is a dead rubber game. Who gives a fuck? Better to know what it's like.
That's disrespectful to those teams and the supporters.
No, it's not. If they wanted respect, they should have won more games.
If they weren't so shit, that wouldn't happen.
Yes, it's not happening. It's not happening in Richmond, Collingwood.
They should take inspiration from the better teams like Carlton
and North with Paul Ahern.
Do what you like, AFL. Why don't you bring back the points hitting the post, or the last man that touches it gets a free kick when it goes out of bounds?
Now you're just going full retard.
I want to see drop kicks,
but not if you throw them. One thing I did see that's an interesting stat, just to put a pin in Gillen's stupid 17-5 idea, was that apparently if that fixture model was in place at the moment, Sydney would be locked into the top 6 and plummeting, yet could not miss finals, denying someone to come through, which that's as good an argument against it as any that I've heard.
Yeah, that's the best one I've heard so far.
But
why don't we just introduce multi-ball, like when you're playing the pinball machine?
Oh, you've been reading the main board. Literally every main board rules thread.
There's no black or white with Dan. As soon as you go from one thing to another, it goes up to 100 and everything's fucked. Now we've got 2 balls. Why don't we play on brooms?
No, 4 balls. 4 balls on the ground.
Another talking point. Do we want to weigh into Sauce v Caro? I don't know.
Has anyone ever been more defensive over someone not returning their phone call? Good hell. It's like a scorned lover. You never call me back. I thought it was really entertaining.
The criticisms are fairly relevant. Like, what the fuck are they doing? They're letting players like Paul Ahern slip through whilst they take...
Oh, if only she had asked and mentioned his name.
He hadn't had 39 disposals then. Timing's everything.
No, but he was still having a good year, though, before that.
No, just solid, Dan.
Sorry, yes, just solid. She is a shit stirrer, but he is accountable because, he's brought in rejects from GWS and they've been... And
the dogs and fucking wherever else you want to think of.
And, he gives his son a game every week.
No, Bolton gives his son a game
every week. His name. Are we all unison on that the Silvani kid only got drafted because of his last name?
Are we in unison on that? I don't think we've ever not been of that opinion.
If his name was Jack Smith, he wouldn't have got drafted. Same with
Yeah,
Lewis
I-
McDonald.
Oh, he's not that bad. But
He was a highly rated
there is-
junior, like who just hasn't
He
come on.
was.
Silvani was
but-
drafted at 48 for a reason.
But here's the thing with that is McDonald is one name, but Silvani is in another galaxy in terms of football royalty.
Yeah.
And that kid just doesn't look like a superstar.
Bit like Dacos too, actually.
Well, it's too early on.
Well, no, Trade Draft's dad said.
Trade Draft's dad said. Did he post on Big Footy or something? Or did he say something on radio?
Trade Draft said his dad said he wouldn't make it.
I might search his posting history for all the things his dad said and then start a thread. Shit, Trade Draft's dad said. His dad thinks that his peeing issues are mental, not physical, because he has trouble pissing. And his dad says it's not a medical thing, it's a mental thing.
Stage fright.
His dad's just diagnosing him.
Needs to be re-toilet trained.
He had to go to hospital, and then he had blood in his piss, and he's got a thread about it. No, not about it. He's got his own Trade Drafts thoughts thread, so that he doesn't start one every time he thinks of something. This is what Hodgepodge needs.
This month on the Bay. Thread of the month. What do we got?
Sorry, Bosk, you had a thread of the week contender last week, but because we didn't have any podcasts, we can't nominate it. So
no, we're going the full month because my nomination's from about 3 weeks ago. No, Dan, shut up. It's since we were last on. I want to nominate purely for the title and the initial stages of it. The first 2 pages are good. It gets a bit shit fighty after that. But Gary Ablett returning to Geelong is like Jenny returning to Forrest Gump after she found out she was dying.
Yes. That is probably the best.
Spoiler alert, I've never seen that movie, cunt.
Red Top. What?
Dan.
No, listen. If you haven't seen that movie, then you're not entitled to a... Or you have seen it and you're just taking the piss.
Only I know.
You shouldn't get spoiler alerts for a movie that's been out for like 30 years. I mean, that's silly.
But what was the boss thread you wanted to nominate?
The Wicked Witch of the West died in The Wizard of Oz.
Darth Vader's Luke's father.
Oh, no. I was going to watch Star Wars. Oh, shit.
Bruce Willis is a ghost. He's been dead the whole time.
Jenny.
The Titanic ends up sinking.
Yeah, but you don't need to have seen the movie to know about the Titanic sinking.
You might. Anyway, any other threads?
No, I can't think of a single other one.
I was probably going to mention the one that you mentioned purely because of the thread title.
I didn't mind. Bosk's had a couple. The
No, I can't remember any.
Players Playlist, which honestly, fuck out. That had collaborative potential, and it's still only on page 2. Lift your game,
Mothra
folks.
had nothing but dick pics.
Nothing but dick pics. Bosk tried for some Collingwood drug bait, but it didn't really work. They didn't bite like not the puffers.
You're throwing a lot of shade at Bosk.
When did I throw shade at Bosk?
No, I'm talking about Morgan, not you.
Oh.
Wait till we get to Flog of the Week.
No, let's just go. Let's go there. Let's go there. Forrest Gump wins.
Yeah, let's go there. Yeah. Go on, far away.
I think my Flog of the Week will go to Bosk.
Really?
For being the absolute ultimate PM coward. Now, I don't care if you're going to have a dig, but if you're then going to go back and apologise, do it in the same area that you made the dig, so the people that seen it initially will then see you backtrack on your bike and apologise. Don't then send a separate PM apologising so nobody knows, because that makes you a coward.
So hang on, is this 2 separate PMs or is this one on one?
2 separate PMs.
So it's not...
One he has a dig in, which is a group PM. All good, all fine. I tell him he's an actual cunt. Nothing else to respond to. The next day, he sends me a long-winded PM apologising. Put it in the group chat, fuckface.
What was the group chat one about initially?
He was laughing at Matt Schvarenberg doing his ACL.
Oh, boss.
You got annoyed that someone was laughing over an injury?
No, I just told him he was a cunt.
Okay. I think Nathan Freeman's going to come in next week.
I hope he does.
Like, he actually might.
So Bosk sends a group PM to Morgan and various
No,
other people.
Damn. He's already...
In a big PM.
Like the Flogcast one, Dan.
Yeah, it was 100 and something pages. And he says, in that case, commiserations for Sharonberg, smiley face. And I said, you're an actual cunt. And then he said, tee-hee. And then the next day he sends me a PM privately apologising.
Well, how come I'm not in this? How come I'm not in this?
Sorry, Dan. There's an elite 16 people in this conversation, and you must have been 17.
Oh, I missed out. Bugger. Well, Bosk, that's soft, man. I mean, if you're gonna backtrack, at least backtrack in front of everybody. You know. I mean,
so this can act as my response to you, Bosk. I'm not responding in that PM because you're a coward. Put it in the other one.
And also, does someone just want to add me to this conversation? that would be nice.
I want to nominate for Flog of the Week. I'm moving outside the bay to... This thread's not...
Ilksy.
Oh, you're dishonourable to Ilksy for that melt thread, but not... A melt's one thing, but I'm going to go with stupid. And I'm going to nominate CM9000 for the mainboard thread. Why did West Coast have to play in Hobart? Which he's sulking about the fact that in the OP he manages to sulk about the fact that North could have played Richmond in Tassie, and it would have meant that if North played West Coast in Melbourne, that it would be one CG game for West Coast, which, as was pointed out very quickly, that would have been an Etihad game. But
yes.
The West Coast whinge is quite amusing.
Because, like we've already discussed this, I really enjoy when teams who thought they were going to win don't. I read the West Coast game day thread as I watched the replay of the game, because I like to do it live as well. Like, it gives it some context. And I don't know if it was him or if it was someone else who had a massive melt in their game day thread about why they have to play in Tasmania. They're above it. Yeah, because having to go to Tasmania is below them.
You're already on. You may as well go to Tassie. It's better than getting a team to go on a plane.
It's an extra 20 minminutes. I mean, who cares?
It didn't even it's not like there was even a stopover. There wasn't. They gave them they put on a specific direct flight. I don't think it would have taken that much longer. No,
I get the complaint from back in the days when Freo had to change planes and it took them forever. I get the complaint about a lack of MCG access when, a team plays Hawthorn, for example, and they're in the finals running or Melbourne, and they get sent to the top end. But when you're playing North, who don't play home games at the MCG, and you're getting direct flights, just shut the fuck up.
Oh, hang on. I found it. Having to play at disgraceful provincial grounds like this is so below our standing as an AFL powerhouse, it's not funny. We should be standing at the AFL and saying, get stuffed. We're not playing in Hobart, Canberra, Darwin. Send basket cases like Gold Coast, Brisbane or GWS down to North Antarctica.
North Antarctica. I don't mind that. North Antarctica.
Missed the opportunity to call it North Antarctica.
Yeah. What a bitch. Yeah, he can have my nomination at Flog, and if you let me do the thread, I'll tag him in it. We should just do that. The Flog of the Week should just be tagged.
It's been a month, but I can't think of any other dishonourables. That's the end of this month on the base. So we're not going to do tips. I've got a new theory, and I would have given you warning on this, but I've decided let's be spontaneous with it. I'm throwing a surprise like Stephen Milne.
A surprise finger is not a surprise.
No, do that afterwards.
What?
Okay, so we're not going to have any tips this week. We're all going to have a go at this. Now, are we agreed that Adelaide aren't playing finals?
Yes.
Morgs?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to decide, we're going to predict now, we're going to tip which 3 of the remaining 11 teams don't play finals. With 4 rounds to go, we're going to have a guess who we think those are going to be. I think there's been enough fixture talk and ladder predictor bullshit that's gone on. But I want to know who we think won't play finals. Don't have to have an order. Just tell me who's not going to be there.
Carlton,
No.
Gold Coast, Brisbane Lions. Thank you very much. See you back next week.
Thank you very much.
Well, you weren't specific. You said who won't play.
Which three of the other 11 top teams won't play finals, Dan? God, I can't believe you really do have autism.
So, out of the Swans, North and Essendon.
No, but those teams
top
could
11 teams, 3 of them won't play
they could
finals.
displace someone who's currently in the 8.
Yeah. I'm looking at the ones that are 9, 10, and 11, and I've got
Sydney, Essendon, Melbourne.
You want me to go first?
Morgs went first.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Hawthorn, Geelong, and Essendon.
Sydney, Essendon, and North.
Have you seen their run home?
I have seen their run home, but I'm still not certain. I did. Not North will be 9th. I'm thinking North versus Hawthorn's a pretty tight call.
9th, Melbourne.
9th, Melbourne.
This is great. So, are we going to do this next week?
Well, next week it'll be a lot easier because there'll be some games that'll have sorted some shit out. Like
next week we might predict the top 4 down. You never know what we might do. We're spontaneous.
It's Dan. Would you rather I had you just do the tips? Would you rather that?
I'd rather someone else do them for a change, or just take turns instead of just you retards going, "Hey Dan, I think it's your turn this week." When I do it every fucking.
You retards. You're the retard who just keeps going along with it.
Yeah. Oh no, you better start talking about Survivor now if you want him to do the tips. Go on, do it.
No, because we're not doing them this week. We did predictions instead, and everyone had a go.
Ring the bell.
And we sang Kumbaya. How does Kumbaya go, Dan?
Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya.
See, there's our paddle singing moment.
Yeah. So who did I tip? I forgot who I tipped.
You had Hawthorn, Geelong, and Essendon, I think.
That were missing or making it?
Missing.
Oh, that's how much I care about this new segment.
I thought Essendon and Sydney were absolute morals to miss from here. I don't think Sydney's going to win another game.
It'd be pretty shattering if they won this week.
My dad said that on Saturday.
Thanks, Dredra.
That was fucking crisp, Dan.
Well, you get a half volley, you got to smash it to the
Better
bed.
fucking beat you. He said we better beat you guys today. And I just thought, nah, there's no way. There's no
way that Sydney beats the side that turn up on Saturday, but what if they don't turn up on Saturday?
That's true, but you just got to back in the fact that you will.
Oh, look, one thing I will say that we've been pretty consistent with effort this year.
Yeah, and you're playing at the SCG. They don't like winning in front of Kenny.
No, because they don't want him in the circle.
Mm.
Have we gone past the hour mark yet or not? Have we?
No, I had another talking point.
I think that's us done. So this was the podcast for round 20.
We're back. The comeback tour.
Starburns joined by Morgs
Goodbye.
and Dan.
Yeah, I don't know if we're coming back next week. Well, it's all dependent on Starburns. It's got nothing to do with me. If it was up to me, we would be here every week. But some people just have issues in their life, and they bring big footy into it, and everyone else suffers for it. And it's very selfish and inconsiderate. And but we will try to be better for it. And that annoying sound is Morgan ringing a bell for whatever reason. I don't know. It sounded better if it was Starburns who's belled it because he's a little man with a bell. It's not Morgan. Are we good? Are we good to go next week?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see. Just you keep that toaster in the air, okay, Dad?
Step away from the toaster. If everyone just leaves their appliances alone, we'll be okay.
We'll be fine. All right.
Starburns, leave the bread maker. Did you make the bread today?
I made it yesterday. It honestly, ever since that week, everything's been fine. It was like a one-off, but it was a very shattering one-off.
There's nothing like having a shitty week because you can't eat some bread.
Don't cry.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, Dan.
Oh no, I can't have my toast, my chicken sandwich now because I got no bread. I can't go to Baker's Delight. It has to be my special bread that's 3 inches thick.
I love how you get so fixated on this shit. It was also just the sense of disappointment to pull it open and see this disgusting mess and go, what the fuck just happened?
Well, just make some more. I mean, if you burn the popcorn, you just go and make some more, don't you?
It takes a few hours, and we had a podcast to record.
Well, if it's that important to you, then you'll just have to put some time away to make some more. But no, you're just selfish in your ways, and we had to all suffer for it because we didn't get into podcasting for 3 weeks because you cracked the.
That had nothing to do with it.
Yes.
It had nothing to do with the bread.
Yes, it did. That I'm telling you now, that bread machine carries more weight than I do when it comes to whether we have the podcast or not.
That bread maker makes or breaks the podcast.
Yes,
Dan,
it does.
Is there anyone who carries less responsibility for the lack of episodes over the last month than you? Anyone at all?
Even the bread maker's taken its responsibility.
Are you more at fault for the last month than anyone?
No.
No one.
No.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see.